So in your shout out, you mentioned the Keystone education.
Yeah.
Talk to us, because I feel this is something that is people are not aware of, and we had this talk a little bit,
Yeah.
but then like I want you to just go into a little more detail. Start with like what they are and how like how they function and all that first, and then we'll get into the issue of it.
See, the Keystone Education Society group, they are a group of people who cater to children with differently abled children.
Differently able children, yes.
And maybe not just differently able, but children with challenges, educational challenges.
Right.
Before I even opened the school, I did not have any idea of this. But as the school kept growing, I found like some children are a little different than others. And we didn't know what to do with it. But now we can do something because they are trained in that. So we have partnered with them, and we have children with different needs. Some are dyslexic, some are autistic, some have learning of mathematics, and some have difficulty in reading. So, I mean, like, we are teachers, but we are not trained in that.
Exactly.
No matter how much we feel for this child, since we are not trained, we cannot, help this child. But these people, they are trained in that. So I'm so glad that they're here because we have, collaborated with them, and we have a few children in the school. So they are the ones who
look after these.
Who look after them. They do come to the normal classroom, but also, they have their special class.
They have their own physical space as well. Yeah.
So I've seen improvement in the children. And before they came, we also would recommend children who we thought had difficulty in learning to just go and assess themselves. This referral hospital, they have a section also.
Okay.
There's like children
difficulties in learning
difficulties and differently abled, so at least now families and educational institutions are becoming more aware of this.
Yes, exactly.
But also at the same time, some are getting aware, but especially parents, they're in denial.
Yes, this is something that's a little sensitive, but I think it has to be talked about more.
Yeah, so if my teachers feel that the student has some difficulty, they usually come to me and they say, "Ma'am, we may be wrong, but can you come and observe?" So I'm not an expert, but because of my so many years dealing with children, I kind of have that.
Yeah, you can spot something.
So if that is done, then we call the parent and we say, like, we may be wrong, but it'll be nice if. So some parents take it very nicely. Some parents are offended, but I'm just doing my part. Because if I don't do that, the child will grow up frustrated.
Low self-esteem, everything.
So then it's a process, and now I'm so glad that we have a special, especially like, because according to the CBSE, we need to have special educators in the school, but we don't have many people who are trained in that field. But now Keystone Education is there, so I'm happy that they're there to help us.
I think that's a very important issue. That's it must have been much more or less the same back in our days, or even like way back, but obviously not talked about. And people were, I'm 100% sure, not even aware of half of these things back then. But now, even though the education, I mean, like, people are aware of it, they're not aware like in the sense that they need special help.
Like,
it can't just be
a student is not doing well and we just label they're not trying hard, or
they're dim,
nothing is in their head,
slow
kind of, we just like. But then, and also like reading, there's some students who really struggle with reading, and we just think that they're not trying hard enough, but they could have a problem.
Right.
There's some students who are really bad with maths, but there is a disability for that also.
Just to cut you, I think these are the ones that need to be talked about more and more awareness, because like the autistic kids, that's very easy to spot. Like anyone can sort of know that, but the smaller ones, dyslexia, exactly, those ones, It's
and
very hard to.
dysgraphia, where you understand but
Okay.
you cannot express it in writing.
Okay.
There's so many issues actually, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
also
wasn't even
learning-
aware of this.
I'm also learning now only, but we're sensitive to it,
Yeah.
and I hope more people become more aware and will
Yeah.
become more sensitive to it.
Yeah, I hope that like parents do understand that.
Yeah, because again, sorry to cut you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in CBSE, at least we even have if they are certified, like special children, then there are a lot of relaxations,
Okay.
and we have cerebral palsy children also. So these can give with extra time. They even have where their cerebral palsy, if they cannot write, they can dictate and they can be a
The
scribe for
exam.
them.
Okay.
And then we can read the questions to them. They given
Oral.
yes,
Yeah. and
all
so-
that is there. So it's good that opening up, like,
Yeah, it's good that those facilities are there,
Yes,
provided
yeah.
by CBSE and
Yeah.
whatnot. But on the other hand, the parents,
yes,
they have to be a little more, I guess, aware about it.
Yeah.
And like you said, some of them are in denial. I'm sure it might be out of fear also of
Yeah.
what society
And
will think
also,
of.
yeah,
that
that,
stigma, like
yeah,
my
stigma.
kid is like this, which I can totally relate to. But anyway, that is something that needs to be talked about
Yeah.
more often. I'm not well versed in that area, but when you mentioned Keystone, I thought it
Yeah.
was very important that we just talk about that
Yeah,
a
so
little
important.
bit. Yeah. There's one thing I want to talk to you about, like, which is the government schools.
yeah,
Now, unfortunately, the situation of the shambles that it's in,
Yeah.
whether it's infrastructure or just the system that's in place. What is your take on this, in the sense, what do you think should be done? Because business wise, obviously, I mean, it's not your
Yeah.
competition or anything, but but just as an educator, as a person who's in this field, and I'm sure you know about the situation, dire situation of how the government schools are in, and forget Dimapur and Koima, which are very bad,
Yes, yeah.
but the ones in the far-flung interior areas must be in, I mean, I haven't seen them, but I can just only imagine how bad they must be. So what is something that you think that we should be doing about this, like trying to revamp? Like, I'm sure you've seen the government schools in Delhi,
Yeah.
or at least the pictures of, like, the Aam Aadmi Party
Yeah.
were forcing, pushing this agenda of, like, good schools, hospitals, etc. Maybe not to that level, but what do you think some of the things that are the things that we can do to go in the right direction with
yeah.
Government schools.
Government schools, I don't know, because see, when you look at government schools, I believe that the government hires people who are equipped, because they are criteria. You have to be a graduate with a B.Ed, or a postgraduate with a B.Ed. It's compulsory. So
you're talking about teachers, right? Like,
teachers.
yeah.
So when they are being recruited, those are the. So I always say that government schools have all the qualified teachers actually.
Yeah, they actually.
But where's the passion? I mean, I don't have an answer for that
Yes,
specific thing, but if you are going into the teaching job for your, because for teachers you need to be passionate. Not so much the money, I feel. Of course,
Right,
the
right.
money is involved, the salary is there.
Yeah,
but
that's
you have to be
important, of
passionate
course, yes.
about.
Do you think it plays a role that the establishment is also in such shambles that they're
And
not
also-
even motivated
see,
to?
I just remember, I think it's the lack of ownership that has made it like that.
Right.
Like private schools, okay, we may have the second layer. The first layer goes to the government because they're the second layer, like they could not get into the government, so
Right,
they
right.
apply to us, and then but why do they excel more? Why do these second layer teachers excel more than the first layer? It's because ownership is there. Like for me, at least, I'm
Right,
there, and they have to perform. Government schools, who's the owner?
Yeah, accountability is not
There's
there.
no
Yeah.
accountability.
Yes.
So unless there's something that the government make some very strict
Policies,
take
huh?
some strict measures, I think it'll be like this only.
Yeah, because you have to feel for the, I don't know the numbers, but the thousands and thousands of children who go to government
Yeah.
schools. Sadly, some of them only because they can't afford any other school,
Yes.
but some for maybe in some areas, like I said, interiors, there might not be any other options also.
Yeah, I mean, there is no option actually.
Yeah. So I don't know what to add, but it's just something that I wanted to talk
without
about.
an owner, I think government teachers, they have to take it upon themselves, like, like a mission kind of a thing.
What do you think about like sort of semi-privatizing it, leasing it out, sort of,
I mean, when me and my friends or me and my family, we talk about the government schools, we always talk about this.
Okay.
Maybe there should be kind of like some partnership there.
Private-public partner, the PPP, yes.
Yeah, like where the private party comes in and they are being paid by the government. But if there's a non-performing teacher, then the private party gets every right
authority to yes,
kind of withhold the...
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, withhold the salary or something like that. Not for my own gains, but for the public in general, for society in general.
Yes. Yeah. It's something that I just thought about because obviously you're coming onto the show and I wanted to talk about this, but I don't have anything substantial to add. But this is something that has to be...
I don't even have, but these are just thoughts that go through my mind, like...
And something that needs to be addressed also, because the numbers that are involved with, like the number of students that are involved and the amount of money that we're spending also, taxpayers' money is going. So there should be something coming out of that, right? We should be. Okay, coming to sports now, because obviously I this is something that I'm involved in. So any topic or any guest that's there, I somehow managed to squeeze sports, music in. Yeah. And the school is one very crucial part, I feel, that where sports, development of sports and the arts, music can play a very vital role. And there are a few questions that I want to ask and just see and also hear about your vision, because I know that you guys at Hope also actively doing your own things with especially the music. And I want to start with just asking you, since you're an owner of a school, and I've said this before on the podcast also, is that I feel sports and music to a large extent are looked at more as just a side subject, and do you feel that is sort of stunting the potential of sports persons also, and the development of sports in general also? Do you feel like that? What is your take on this?
See, Asale, in a way you're right. Okay, schools, we try to balance everything, right? The academics, the music, the extracurricular, let's say. But at the end of the day, it's very sad, but it's the academics that speak.
Yes.
A school is looked at by how many first division, how many toppers you have, so, and then we have a curriculum, a syllabus to finish. Yes. And in that process, it gets sidelined. The sports and extracurricular, it gets sidelined a lot. So maybe we don't see we kind of suppress students who are wanting to go for that. Yeah,
I just want to quickly just add here that my wife's family and their whole entire family, they run the Vineyard School in Kohima. So a shout out to Vineyard School. But I was talking with my sister-in-law, who's also the principal there, Lene, and I was just jokingly saying that it's not intended, or this thing is not directed at people like you. Yeah. I understand the situation also that we're in, and like you said, the expectations of the overall majority is just of how many parents just want academic results. Yes, so I understand that there's so many different parts to it. It's not just that the school is trying to block sports or anything like that, but I just feel if there is somehow it can be looked as, because sports, if you look at it from a broader perspective, it's a huge industry in the world. There's so much employability, avenues and such. So if we can start creating inroads for that from the schooling level, I feel that is my point. Not about schools sidelining it because that's their agenda or anything like that. But
we definitely try to encourage. Okay, why I said our percentage. Everyone looks at a percentage. Supposing we have one or two students who are weak in, usually it's like that. Those who are good in sports are somehow weak in studies. Of course, there are people who are good in sports as well as good in studies. But
most cases,
if we allow them to go up, and now they're sitting for the board exams. We hope that they pass. Then the percentage of the pass percentage, or the percentage of the school goes down, and the school mentally thinking like, oh, and people look at it like that. We don't
I totally understand that.
We
Yes,
don't look at schools from the perspective of how smart are the children, what kind of are they.
That holistic growth, is it there?
We never look at that.
It's just that the marks, the
how many, not even knowing whether they're going to become
totally
good
understand
citizens.
that. Yeah.
We're trying to balance it, and hopefully there'll be a change somewhere. And because I've tried it in the school. I had a boy who was very good in taekwondo.
Okay.
And I had spoken to the
Parents?
parents. We will allow him to just, as long as he manages to get a few marks here and there, we will allow him to go. But then you know how it is, like after a certain point, if there's no participation from the other side also, then we have to take a call. So those kind of things are there also. And then sometimes when we look at a child who is good, we tell the parents that maybe your child wants to do more of sports and less of the academics, and parents don't listen. They want just, and who are we to interfere in that, so all that is there. And then the parents will be like, please don't encourage my child to be into music or sports. So then we also,
which is very unfortunate.
Yes, very unfortunate.
I totally understand that. That is the case with a lot of parents. It's changing. I keep saying that it's changing, but it's still here. It's.
But as we were discussing, if there was a sports academy,
right.
They concentrate in sports, but maybe affiliated with a school where they get their minimum
educational requirements completed from.
Then that would be interesting, actually.
Yeah, this is one thing. Like we had this small chit chat that day about this, and I feel that schools can play such a big role because in regards to our state, because as we all know, we have close to zero infrastructure for like sporting facilities, and schools to some extent at least have basketball courts and it's being maintained, a football ground and such. So I feel that collaborations in whatever way, whether it's with our sports associations or with the department itself, or there can be certain tie-ups with schools, and like you said, whether it's an academy or, because I'm not sure if the audience are aware, but outside there are a lot of for example, a football academy. Some of them have their own residential, their own school in itself, but most of them tie up with schools, private school, and they provide the training, and it's all done with the mutual consent with the school and the academy.
Maybe you should start one.
No, I don't.
Just into that.
There's so many dreams. I don't.
So that's one of your dreams. Maybe it could come out from here.
But I definitely feel that is one way we can work towards it. And another is like I'm with the Athletics Association, and I've had a meeting with the Department of Youth and Sports and Youth Resources. Something struck me was that a potential partnership, coalition, whatever, between an association, so a football association or the basketball or athletics association, can tie up with schools. And sort of primarily focus on that, like Hope could be known for football, and this school could be known for this sport. And so there are some ways we can work around it, but I guess it's not easy because, like we were discussing, there's so many factors involved, right? Like especially with the parents, unfortunately.